Thank you.
You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state of Indiana would call Department of Natural Resources Officer Dan Dulin, please.
Witness sworn.
Mr. Dulin, before we get started, I'm gonna ask you to speak up and use your best outside voice. You don't need to lean into the microphone. The microphone amplifies for the audience, but not for the attorneys and for the jurors, so I just need you to speak up as best you can. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Will you state your name, please?
My name is Daniel Dulin.
And Mr. Dulin, how are you employed?
I am a conservation officer with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division.
And how long have you been employed as a DNR officer?
This is my 26th year.
And what is your rank currently?
It's Captain.
Captain Dulin, did you have to go through special training and were schooling to become a law enforcement officer with the Department of Natural Resources?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Conservation officers attend a recruit school where they learn a lot about natural resource laws and the primary duties of conservation officers. Upon completing that, we attend the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, like any other Indiana law enforcement officer, to get the criminal law, the traffic law, the defensive tactics, everything that's associated with being a law enforcement officer in Indiana, and then we participate in a several-month-long field training portion of our training, where we interact with seasoned or training officers to get us trained on how to perform in the field as a conservation officer.
And so are your primary duties to enforce the Department of Natural Resources laws?
So our primary duties are DNR property enforcement, resource laws like hunting and fishing, boating, off-road vehicles, but our duties include a lot of traditional law enforcement. We have authority to enforce any law in Indiana anywhere in Indiana as a state law enforcement officer.
And have you performed all of those duties during your career here in Carroll County?
Not all in Carroll County. I have worked throughout the state. I was assigned, the first 15 years of my career, in Newton County, and then I've been in Carroll County for about 10 years now.
I want to take you back to February of 2017. Were you employed in the same capacity that you're employed now?
No, sir. At that time, I was a lieutenant. I was in charge of a district, the district out of the Lafayette office, so same law enforcement responsibilities, just.
And at some point in 2017, did you become involved in the investigation in the death of Abby and Libby?
Yes, sir, I did.
When did that or when did you become involved?
I believe it was on the 16th of February.
2017?
Yes, sir.
And when you initially came on to the investigation, what was your role?
My role was basically to assist the investigation team in any way that they needed.
And when you started, how did you assist?
I had been out of town through the 14th, or 15th of February, so my first day back to work was the 16th I believe, and I went to the command center. I offered my services of however they needed to. I kind of received a briefing of the basics of the case and then I began assisting by following upon whatever they asked me to follow upon, and if they didn't have a specific task for me that day, then I would just follow upon the leads that they had received.
When did you first start following upon leads that they had received?
I believe it was the 18th of February.
Of 2017?
Yes, sir.
And tell me how that process worked. How would you follow upon a lead?
So there was always a briefing in the morning, would attend the briefing in the morning, we'd get updates on the case. They would have leads printed.
Let me back you up, let me slow you down just a little bit. When you got a lead sheet, what information was in the lead sheet?
They were pretty basic. It would be, the name of the individual we needed to follow upon, usually a way to contact them, either an address or phone number, and then whatever the person that reported the lead, a basic sentence or two about why they felt this person was pertinent or why they needed somebody to follow upon them.
So a short sentence or two of information about, I guess, the content of the lead or the subject of the lead?
Yes, sir.
And then you would take that lead and lead sheet and make contact with the person on the lead sheet?
Yes, sir.
How many of these were you doing a day?
That would vary, because I would also have other tasks as being somebody that was local to the area and familiar with the area, so it wasn't every day that I did leads. There might be something that they needed me to follow upon with somebody locally, or an investigator might ask me to try to track down a case report or some court information from a different person that they were.
So let's explain those two different kinds of leads. On certain lead sheets, you're told to make contact with the person, gather that information, and then turn the lead back in?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
On other leads, you were told to contact the person, follow up with the lead, and follow that lead as far as you could follow it?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And those are the two different kinds of leads that you dealt with?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall getting a lead sheet concerning Richard Allen?
Yes, sir. I received a lead sheet.
Well, hold on a minute, you're getting ahead of me here.
Sorry.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 229. Can you describe just what that is to the jury?
So this would be the original lead sheet that contains the person who was the reporting person, how they contact investigators. It would have a brief narrative, which explains why this person either needs to be contacted or wants to be contacted by law enforcement, and then it would have administrative.
And so do you recognize this as a lead sheet that you would follow upon?
Yes, sir, I do.
And do you recognize this as a lead sheet concerning Richard Allen?
Yes, sir.
Judge, State would move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 229. State's Exhibit 229 offered.
No objection.
All right. Without objection, 229 is admitted. State's Exhibit 229 offered.
And I'll ask permission to publish that to the jury, Judge.
You may.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Captain Dulin, I'm gonna have you hold up a lead sheet. As you're identifying the lead sheet, you identified different sections of that lead sheet. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have you hold the lead sheet up, now that it's been admitted into evidence, and explain to the jury the different sections you were talking about.
So the top section under the heading of Work Package, it just simply explains who received the lead and likely who created it in the system. The source of information is the person who's reporting the lead, and in this case, it indicates Rick Allen Whiteman. The narrative section is the brief summary of what I'm supposed to inquire about. And then, the bottom portion I would describe as the disposition portion, and it gives the identifying number, the status of the lead or the disposition of the lead, who it was provided to, and then, again, a description of what I'm supposed to do and find out when I meet with the person listed above.
Thank you, Captain. And is this the lead sheet that you picked up, or is this identified as the lead sheet that you picked up to investigate?
Yes, sir.
And do you know when you picked up this lead sheet?
It would have been on February 18, 2017.
And after you picked up the lead sheet, what did you do next?
I would have made contact with the persons I'm supposed to contact by the phone number provided on the lead sheet.
Let's specifically focus on this lead sheet concerning Richard Allen. What did you do once you picked up that lead sheet?
I contacted him by phone.
And how did you have his phone number?
It was listed on the lead sheet.
And did you speak with him?
Yes, sir.
And typically, when you would call someone on a lead sheet, where would?
My first preference would be to meet them at their house.
And what was the second preference?
At one of the law enforcement facilities in the county where we have an opportunity to have an interview room available.
And when you called Richard Allen, did you request to come to his house?
Yes, sir.
Did you request to meet him at one of the law enforcement facilities?
Yes, sir.
Did he deny both of those requests?
Yes, sir.
Where did he want to meet you at?
He wanted to meet me at the grocery store parking lot.
And why did that stick out in your mind?
It just, again, typically, my preference is to meet somebody at their house and, since he was the caller of the lead, I felt like I would just go to his house. It wasn't far away, we'd ask a couple questions, figure out what I needed to gather for my lead, and then move on from that point.
Now on the lead, it says Richard Allen Whiteman, correct?
That's correct.
When you spoke to him on the phone, did you address him as Rick Hard Allen Whiteman?
I don't recall exactly how the phone conversation went.
At some point, did you find out that his name wasn't Richard Allen Whiteman?
Yes, sir.
When did that happen?
I believe it would be when we met in person.
Okay. So you did meet him in person, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And you met him in the I think you said grocery store parking lot?
Yes, sir.
What happened next?
We just had a conversation about the lead. I went through the lead that he reported. It indicated that he was on the trail between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., so we went through those details. At the time that we met, he indicated that it was more, he changed it to being there at 1:30 to 3:30, so he just, basically, adjusted the times by a half hour later in each direction.
And did he confirm that he was there on February 13th of 2017?
Yes, sir, he did.
But the time was adjusted, instead of 1 to 3, to 1:30 to 3:30?
Yes, sir.
What else did he tell you?
As the lead sheet indicates, I was supposed to find out if he had seen anybody else on the trail that day or anything that could have been suspicious, and he indicated that he saw 3 girls at the Freedom Bridge at the beginning of his hike, but then saw nobody else after that.
Did he give you an indication of where he parked that day when he went onto the trails?
Yes.
And where did he tell you?
I documented that he said that he parked at the Farm Bureau parking lot, I believe is what I documented, and then I'm not sure if he told me that or if I documented the wrong name of the building, but we had a conversation about it and it was clear that he had parked at the old office building on the east side of the Heartland, which would be commonly known as the old DCS office.
And did he tell you where he walked once he got onto the trails?
He indicated that he walked from his vehicle to what we call the Freedom Bridge, the Blue Bridge, which is where he saw the 3 girls, and then he walked towards the High Bridge.
And did he notify you if he had seen anybody else on the trail besides the 3 girls that he indicated?
No, sir. He indicated that he did not see anybody else and he was not paying attention really to his surroundings because he was looking at a stock ticker on his phone as he walked.
Now, as you're talking to Richard Allen, how are you recording what he's telling you?
So I'm taking notes on the back of the lead sheet. So, I mean, it was a pretty brief encounter, I would say no longer than 10 minutes. I just flip over the lead sheet that I have and I handwrite notes as he's talking.
Did you video record it?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you record it with some kind of audio device?
No, sir, I did not.
Why did you not do that?
I don't know if I didn't have my voice recorder with me that day, I don't know, it was one of the first leads that I conducted, if I had not started using the voice recorder yet. You know, I recorded several of the investigations that I conducted. Especially if the lead turned into a full investigation on a person, I recorded those interactions. To double check to make sure I don't have any recordings of the event, I've checked my phones, I've checked my files, and found no recording of the interaction.
But as you're interacting with Richard Allen, you are taking notes?
Absolutely.
Now, before you ended the conversation with Mr. Allen, did you gain additional information from him?
Yes, sir.
And what was that concerning?
So I asked him for his phone information.
And he noted that he had his phone with him that day?
Yes.
And you gathered his phone information that you could at that time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, for the phone that he had with him that day.
Did that include the MEID number?
Yes, sir, that sounds correct.
And did that include the MAID hex number?
Yes, sir, that sounds accurate.
Once you concluded the interview with Richard Allen, what did you do next?
So after the interview was conducted, would have taken my notes, I would have transferred them or typed them into a Word document that I would then, like a summary, and that I would turn into the investigation center. I would have ran his driver's license information and printed that off, and a picture, a BMV picture, from my computer, and printed that off, and when I submitted a packet back to the investigation center, it included my notes, the person that I was investigating's driver's license information, and a BMV picture.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as Exhibit States Exhibit 230 and 231. Start with States Exhibit 230. Can you describe that, please?
Sir, this would have been a Word document that I would have taken my handwritten notes and put on a Word document that I would have turned into the investigation center as my completed, lead.
And specifically, are these your notes from your interview with Richard Allen?
Yes, sir, they are.
And when did you create this Word document from your notes that you gathered at the interview?
It would have been within an hour, or I would have left the parking lot, likely drove to the fire department across the street from the city building and sat in the parking lot and typed my notes immediately after the interview.
The same day as the interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to draw your attention to what's been marked as States Exhibit 231. Can you describe what that is?
It is Mr. Allen's driver's license return that I would have gotten on my car computer and the BMV photo that I would have obtained from my car computer.
And was that common practice for you to do that while you were investigating these leads?
Yes, sir.
And is that, in fact, the BMV summary that you ran for Richard Allen after you conducted the interview with him?
Yes, sir.
Judge, the state would move to admit what's been marked as States Exhibits 231 and 230 and 231. States Exhibits 230 and 231 offered.
Is this my copy?
Yes.
1 second, Your Honor. Judge, I don't have any objection to 230. 231, I don't have any objection to it. There's a social security number on there that probably ought to be redacted.
We can redact it.
I mean, the media is going to get their hands on this at some point, and otherwise, I don't have any objection to it.
All right. I'll show 230 and 231 admitted without objection.
Judge, I would ask to publish to the jury 230. What I'll do is, if this court would allow me, I'll mark out the social security number and make a copy, so that you can't see through it, and then I would just...
Okay. You may proceed, Mr. McClelland.
Thank you, Your Honor. Captain Dulin, I want to back up just a little bit. I have an omitted question I forgot to ask you. When you spoke to Richard Allen, he notified you, or he told you, that he ran into 3 young girls near the Freedom Bridge.
Yes, sir.
And he was headed towards the Monenhigh Bridge.
Yes, sir.
Did he give you an indication of which direction the 3 girls were headed?
Not that I recall.
Okay. After you completed the interview with Richard Allen, you've done your Word document, you ran the BMB information. After you've gathered all that, What did you do next?
I make essentially, a packet of the lead sheet that was provided to me, and I put my Word document, and then I put the BMV information and photo and staple it together, and I return to the command center. I provide the phone information to the investigators that are working on the technology aspect of the case, and then I submit the lead sheet and packet back into the command center.
On this particular lead, is this a lead that you followed upon after that?
No, sir.
So this is not a lead that you followed all the way to fruition, or all the way as far as you could take it?
No, sir.
This is the lead of the first kind, where you gathered the initial information and dropped it back off at the command center?
That's correct.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 232. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And what do you recognize that as?
This would have been after I submitted my information back to the investigation center.
That was a bad question. Let me stop you. What is this?
This is, essentially, an updated lead sheet.
So you recognize the top half as a lead sheet?
Yes, sir.
And this specifically is the lead sheet that you picked up involving Richard Allen?
The top half, yes, sir.
But this has additional informant ion on it, as opposed to State's Exhibit 229. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What additional information is on this?
So there's a disposition included in this lead sheet where somebody has taken my narrative that I submitted in a Word document and then retyped it into.
And you've had an opportunity to review this document prior to court today, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're seeing this document before?
Yes, sir.
And does the narrative in the disposition accurately reflect your Word document that you turned in with the lead?
Yes, sir.
Judge, the state would move to admit what's been marked as State's Exhibit 232. State's Exhibit 232 offered.
No objection.
All right. Without objection, 232 is admitted.
Gonna ask to permission to publish that to the jury, please.
You may. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Captain Dulin, I now want to fast forward to September of 2022. What happened during that time?
I was at my office, working on some administrative work, and I received a.
And after he asked you that, what did you do?
I told him I had, like the name didn't sound familiar to me. I said, however, I'm at my office and I have a binder, several binders with all of the information that all of the conservation officers had conducted during that time period, and I would look for whatever I could find.
And did you look through those binders?
I did eventually. Actually, the first thing that I did was there's a little search bar at the bottom left of your computer. I just typed in Richard Allen and it immediately brought up my Word narrative that I had submitted that you had in the exhibit earlier on my computer, so I knew, obviously, that I had interacted with him. And then I went and found my binder and found the lead packet that I would have submitted the day of February 18th.
After reviewing those things, did it help refresh your memory about the interview with Mr. Allen?
Yes, sir, it did.
After you did that, what did you do next?
I met with the investigators, Investigator Mullen at the investigation center in Delphi. I brought the documents that I had from the case and, just to let them know that, here's what I remember from it and here are the documents that I have in my file.
After you did that, did you do any further research on Richard Allen?
Yes. Knowing that they were obviously looking into information on Mr. Allen, I utilized some of the resources we have at the DNR to find information on.
What resources do you have available at the DNR? What resources did you look at to find information?
So it's called our point of sale system. It's our outdoor licensing system, so anybody who buys a fishing license or a hunting license, checks in a deer or a turkey, it goes into a database. So,
Well, let me stop you. What kind of information is put into that database when you purchase a fishing license or hunting license or turkey license?
yeah. So the physical information that's put into that system would be your name, your phone number, email, your address, your height, your weight, physical information, and then it also contains, every license that somebody would have bought over the years for 10 or 15 years back to when we started using that system.
And did you utilize this database on that day to search Richard Allen?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you found.
So I was able to locate phone number, email addresses. I located, something that stuck out to me was that on April 1st.
Well, let me stop you. Were you able to locate various fishing licenses?
Yes, sir.
For whom?
I located fishing licenses for Mr. Allen and for his wife.
And did those fishing licenses have let me back up. Did the fishing licenses pertaining to Richard Allen, did they have identification information within them?
Yes, sir.
What kind of information did they have in them?
So it has, again, his name, his address, phone number, height, weight, date of birth.
And are you able to view these various fishing licenses that have been acquired over the years?
Yes.
And are you able to view them in a way that you can compare them to each other?
Not necessarily compare them to each other from the initial screen, but I had asked the administrator of the program to pull information from the database that I thought be helpful from a historical standpoint, so that would have had, what credit card he used, what the IP address was when he was online buying the license, if there was changes in emails. But that secondary search also includes any changes that he made in his profile, like his physical profile.
When changes are made in the profile, is that something the administrator within the Department of Natural Resources does, or is that something that the person purchasing the license does?
It's something the person purchasing the license does.
And what stuck when you were reviewing those fishing licenses that Richard Allen had purchased and acquired? What stuck out to you about that information?
So when he purchased his fishing license on April 1st, he changed his height from 5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches.
He increased his height?
Yes, sir.
He grew 2 inches?
Yes, sir.
April 1st of what year?
It was the 2017.
So April 1st of 2017 is when the change was made?
Yes.
Did you notice any other changes to his physical appearance that he made on that license?
He decreased his weight.
And so were there other changes that he made to that license besides his height and his weight?
Not that I recall.
Why did the change in height and weight? Well, let me back up. Is it fair to say that sometimes people change their height and weight on fishing license?
Absolutely.
Why did this stick out? Why did you make note of this?
I just thought it was uncommon for an adult to increase their height 2 inches, as opposed to, we might, as we age, we might get a little shorter, but to grow 2 inches just seemed an anomaly to me.
Did the date those changes made in correlation with the date of the murders influence you at all?
It was in the back of my mind that I'd spoke with him a month and a half prior, and then he changed his height by 2 inches.
Is Richard Allen here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir, he is.
Can you describe what he's wearing, please?
He's wearing a long-sleeved, light blue, button-up shirt.
And where is he seated?
He's seated at the defense table.
I don't have any other questions, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Rossi.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning.
Good morning.
Officer Dulin, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
Good. So back in 2017, You received some notification that Mr. Allen may have reached out to law enforcement, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the tip actually suggested that he reached out to law enforcement.
That's correct, yes, sir.
That he was cooperating with the investigation, right?
Yes, sir.
And turns out, he actually made a call to speak with an officer himself, didn't he?
I'm not sure how they received the initial call or tip.
The tip, at least, indicated that he had called to speak with an officer, right?
Yes, sir, it indicated that he self-reported.
All right. In other WORDs, it wasn't an email or a text or anything that reportedly came from him. It was a phone call?
Yeah. It did not indicate on the lead. I believe on the lead sheet it says email, but I'm not sure if it was emailed from whoever he talked to. I have no idea how he contacted law enforcement. I just know that the lead indicates that he did, himself, contact law enforcement.
And definitely told them he was out on the trail that day on February 13th.
Yes, sir.
2017?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And left his phone number that first call, right?
Yes, sir, he did.
And, as far as you know, that number was an accurate number?
Yes, sir. That's how I contacted him.
You were able to use it to get a hold of him?
Yes, sir.
Right? And you ended up meeting him at the grocery store?
Yes, sir.
And that was shortly after you reached out to him, within just very short time, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Same day?
Yes, sir.
Within minutes, or maybe an hour or two?
I would say that is an accurate
Okay.
statement.
And he showed up at the store when he said he was going to show up, right?
Yes, sir.
He was on time?
Yes, sir.
And you said earlier that, your first preference is to meet with people at their homes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you believe that you asked to meet him at his home?
Yes, sir.
Richard Allen told you that he was on the way to the grocery store, didn't he?
I don't recall that, sir.
Okay. Is it possible that he could have told you that?
It's possible that he could have told me that.
Okay. You don't have any notes to suggest either way at this point, right?
That's correct.
It's not unusual for people that you're in contact with to not want to meet law enforcement officers at their homes, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I mean, sometimes people are just uncomfortable with that concept altogether.
Correct.
And so you met him at the grocery store down here near, or at least maybe past the Pizza Hut, Dairy Queen?
Yeah, I would describe it as just northwest of McDonald's.
Okay. I think I'm pointing in the right direction, correct?
I believe so.
Basically, kind of west of, just on the western edge of town, right?
Yes, that's correct.
The Save-A-Lot grocery store?
Yes, that's correct.
Place where a lot of people go, right?
Yes, sir.
There's only, by my count, 2 grocery stores in this town, right?
That's accurate, yes, sir.
One of them's right over here off the town square,
Yes, sir.
and the other one's Save-A-Lot. Is that a bigger grocery store? I've actually not been down there.
Judge, I'm gonna object to relevance at this point. I think we're getting a little far off topic here.
I'm asking him if it's a place where people commonly go.
And the objection is relevancy.
It is relevant, because it has a tendency to prove that he would have wanted to meet him at the grocery store, because that's where people commonly go.
Overruled.
Place where people frequent around here, right?
Yes, sir.
Not a lot of grocery options.
That's correct.
And that meeting you described earlier as being brief, right?
Yes, sir.
And he told you at that meeting that he was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30, correct?
That's correct.
He didn't say exactly when he got to the trail, did he?
No, sir.
He just used those time references?
Yes, sir.
And even the lead sheet that said, I think it said 12:30. I think it was 12:30 to 3:30. Excuse me.
I thought it was 1 to 3.
Oh, 1:30 to 3:30. The same, right?
The lead sheet I believe says 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and he told me 1:30 to 3:30.
Yeah, right. Thank you for that. I saw the other part of the lead sheet.
Okay.
But it doesn't say. The lead sheet doesn't say when between those time periods that you reported he was there, right? It just says between.
That he was there between 1 and 3, according to the lead sheet. I might not understand your question, I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't say. It doesn't reference specifically what time he got there and what time he left. There are just blocks of time.
Like, I felt like when he told me he was there between 1:30 and 3:30, I felt like that was the time that he was physically there.
I'm talking about the lead sheet.
Yeah. I felt like when I read the lead sheet, it was indicating that he was at the location between 1 and 3.
Okay, that was your interpretation of the lead sheet?
Yes, sir.
And we have the lead sheet in evidence. We can make our own interpretation.
Yes, sir, that was my interpretation of the lead sheet, yes, sir.
Okay, you don't know how long he was there that day, right?
Aside from him saying that he was there till 3:30. I don't know how long he was physically there. He told me he was there till 3:30.
Okay, 1 second, please.
Yep.
If your report, Exhibit 230, says Mr. Allen was on the trail between 13:30 and 15:30, right?
Yes, sir.
Between those two times?
Right.
That's what you said.
Right. Which would indicate that he got there at 1:30 and he left there at 3:30.
That was your interpretation?
Yeah, based on what he told me.
Okay, and there was nothing about Mr. Allen on the day that you, by the way, was that February the 7th, February 17th that you met him?
No. I have it documented as the 18th.
18th, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not on Exhibit 230, right? You didn't reference the date on there?
No, there's no date on 230.
Okay, so the 18th that you met him, and on that day, there was nothing about him that struck you as unusual, was there?
No, sir.
And he wasn't armed, right?
Not that I know of.
That's something you would kind of pay attention to, right?
Yep.
And you don't recall what he was wearing that day?
I do not.
Or what his overall appearance was?
I do not.
You told me you thought it was probably a 5 to 10 minute conversation.
That's an estimation. It wasn't a very long conversation.
And there was nothing so unusual about that you felt the need to direct him to the police department or take him there and interview him, right?
That's correct.
And you said earlier, Mr. McClelland asked you, that you probably took some notes on the back of your tip sheet?
That's correct.
And you don't know what happened to those notes, do you?
No, sir.
They're lost.
Well, I would say after I put them in the Word document, then I no longer needed the notes because I've transcribed them over to the information I was turning in, so.
You told me before you threw them away.
Yeah, I would say I probably threw them away when I was done with them.
And those notes would be the best evidence of what he told you ON that day, right?
Judge, I'm gonna object. It's a characterization. He's testified he put those notes directly into a Word document, so I'd object to the question.
Characterization.
I'm asking him about his notes. It's relevant.
Well, it's the characterization. Sustained.
Those notes. Do you agree with me those notes would be the most?
Judge, same objection.
Sustained.
And you don't have any independent recollection as you sit here today about your conversation with him on that day, do you?
The specific.
Beyond what's in your report.
No. I mean, the specific recollection I have is the part about him telling me about being on his stock TI Kerr, looking at his phone. And I can say that when Investigator Mullen called me and asked if I had any recollection of Mr. Allen, I didn't, but as soon as I read my notes on that and read the part about the stock ticker, then I remembered the rest of the conver, like the rest of the stuff in my notes. That was the part that stuck out to me. So if you ask if I remember anything specific, I definitely remember the conversation about him being on his phone, looking at a stock ticker.
I took your statement in this room back on March 20th, right?
Yes, sir.
It was a deposition?
Yes, sir.
You've taken depositions before?
Yes, sir.
There was an oath administered, and you swore to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
All that stuff, right?
Affirmative response.
I asked you that question back in March, didn't I? And you told me that you didn't have any independent recollection of what he had told you at that point, right?
I would say that I don't remember exactly what the question was, and I'm sure you could read it to me, but as far as an independent recollection that was specific of the entire meeting with Richard Allen, there was no independent entire recollection of that.
Would it help to look at your deposition transcript to refresh your memory about what you told me?
I can.
May I approach, Judge?
You may.
Let me just direct your attention to page 29, lines 18 through 23. Just take a quick look at those.
Okay.
Take as long as you need.
No, that's fine. Do you want me to read them?
Did you read it?
Did.
No, I don't want you to read it out loud.
Oh, okay.
I just want you to take a look at it.
Yep.
So on that day, I asked you whether or not you had any independent recollection beyond anything that you said in detail on that. Strike that. I asked.
Yes, sir.
And you told me, no, sir, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had spoken with Mr. Mullen at that point in time, hadn't you? You'd already had that conversation with him?
Oh, yes, sir,
You didn't know Rick Allen before the day you met him in 2017?
Not at all.
And you never made any attempt to reach back out to him after that, right?
No, sir.
Now, you testified earlier. Well, let's talk about your report for a minute. You had the wrong name on your report from the beginning, right? The Richard Allen Whiteman?
I was provided the wrong name.
Okay.
And then
So it wasn't your mistake?
I corrected the name in my report that I submitted back to the investigation center.
So somebody else made a mistake about the name?
I have no idea if that's what Mr. Allen told the person he talked to and used the wrong name, or if the person who took the initial report entered the wrong name. I know that the lead sheet that I was provided, which is the one.
Just to make sure we're all clear, you're not suggesting that he was using some kind of an alias or anything, are you?
No. You asked me how I thought the name got put on there, that somebody else made that mistake. I don't know if somebody else made that mistake or if that's what they were provided.
But you're not suggesting, as we sit here today, that he was using an alias?
Judge, objection. Asked and answered.
He asked me a question when I asked him a question.
Sustained.
I'm sorry.
It was asked and answered. Sustained.
Was he trying to hide his identity?
Not.
Judge, I'm gonna object. It calls for speculation. 1. Captain Dulin's testified as to what his thoughts are on why the name was what it was on the lead sheet, and so I think it calls for speculation. 1. And I think it's been asked and answered. 2.
Judge.
It's speculative. He can't say what this witness can't say what your client thought.
He testified earlier that he was changing his identity on his driver's license, on his fishing license.
That's correct.
So it's relevant.
It's been asked and answered, and his thought about your
I'll move on.
clients is speculation.
Thank you. You asked to look at his phone, right?
Yes, sir.
And he gave that phone to you?
Yes, sir, he did.
And your goal was to get the serial number off that phone.
Identifying numbers, I don't know the serial number, but yes, sir.
Lots of numbers on the phone, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you just wanted to get something to make sure you could identify it?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you got that, right?
Yes, sir.
And he actually assisted you in finding that?
He did.
And there was a reference on the report about some possible follow-up. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Suggesting that there might be some more questions to ask if someone chose to follow up later, right?
That's correct.
You didn't ask him what he was wearing on February 17th, 2007, February 13th, 2017, when he was at the trail, did you?
That's correct.
And you didn't ask him what he was driving on that day, did you?
That's correct.
And there was some discussion about him possibly parking at the old Farm Bureau building, right?
Yes, sir.
But you weren't really sure if he used those words or not.
Correct.
So at first you weren't really sure if you were talking about the same place, the way I understood.
So
That conversation at first.
So the name of the building is the part that's an error on my report, but we discussed about the physical location or described the physical location of where the vehicle was parked, so I am 100% confident that, based on our conversation, he was at the building that is slightly north of the Freedom Bridge on the east side of the Heartland NEA or the Anderson's grain facility. And if I put that it was the Farm Bureau building, that was an error on my part, but the knowledge of the exact building where he was parked there's no question in.
You thought you cleared it up with him?
Yes, sir.
Did you guys get out a map or anything or take a look at a map?
No, sir.
So whatever was cleared up was just cleared up by a conversation?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you mentioned that there was a reference to a change in the height and weight on his 2017 fishing license.
Yes, sir.
Or fishing and hunting license. Was it a fishing license?
It was a fishing license, yes, sir.
Okay. And that license would have been purchased in April of 2017, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't know who changed or who. I guess, to be more technical, you don't know who inputted that information into that software program, do you?
No, sir.
It's possible for somebody to get online and buy a license for somebody else, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, actually, I've got the app on my phone. You can get on the app and have sub-accounts in your app, can't you?
Yes, sir.
You don't know if his wife was purchasing that license for him?
I don't know.
Or somebody else?
No, sir. It only tells me, it does tell me whose credit card was used, and without looking at the document, I couldn't tell you that, but you have to have a username and a password to get into the system and then it authenticates by calling a phone or sending a text message, so someone has to be able to verify that, and then it also documents the credit card that was used, so.
And so you noted that there was a change from 5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches, right?
Yes, sir.
5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was a weight change that was about 15 pounds or so.
Yes, sir.
All right. But you also had a chance to look back on his historic records, as you said, right?
Yes, sir.
And as it turns out, if you look, I think you said you looked back all the way around to 2005 maybe?
Yes, sir.
So roughly 12 years.
That's correct.
And there were many other references on those licenses to him being 5 feet 6 inches, weren't there?
Yes, sir. In fact, when we had the deposition, you asked the same question.
There were many other references to him being 5 feet 6 inches, weren't there?
Yes, sir. And then I went after.
No, there's no question.
Okay.
Thank you. And so the change in April of 2017 was, at least, consistent with what had been reported on his license historically?
On the printed copies that you were provided, yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so there's really not much that you can discern from seeing that information, is there?
Aside from, after our deposition, I looked back into the system, and when you change something and print previous licenses, it updates the header with the physical information. So what I did to prove that is I looked at my son's hunting licenses. He's 20 years old currently, and he's 5 feet 10 inches and 200 pounds. And as he updated his height and weight as he aged in the system, it changes that heading. So if I go and print a license from him from 2011, when he was 7 years old, that license, if printed today, now also says that he's 5 feet 11 inches, sick, and 200 pounds. So if you were to print his licenses, if he had his licenses from the time he printed them, at the time they would have all said 5 feet 4 inches. If I print the licenses today, they all say 5 feet 6 inches. The document that I have from the point-of-sale system shows the current changes in one column and the new data in the second column, and that remained consistent until the April 1st of 2017, where he changed the date from, or changed the height from 5 feet 4 inches to 5 feet 6 inches, if that makes sense.
You finished?
Yes, sir.
So let me see if I understand it. What you're saying is that if somebody reported in 2016 that they were 5 feet 4 inches, and then in 2017, they changed it to 5 feet 6 inches, then all the historic records would automatically be changed.
If you printed it after that change. It prints the current physical information on any document that you print after that change.
So your system then is changing information because the software causes that to happen?
Only if the information was changed by the user.
But you don't really know then, because you've never actually seen his actual licenses from all the way back to 2005, and what they said, you just know they've changed, right?
Based on the data that's collected from the user input.
When I talked to you back in March, you said that you didn't have any reason to believe that he was trying to be deceptive with you, did you?
That's correct.
And you told me that there was nothing unusual about the fluctuations in someone's weight, 10 to 15 pounds in a year, is there?
I agree with that.
Now, Mr. McClelland, when he was questioning you earlier, you said you got involved in this investigation in 2017, just after the girls were found, and then I think you said that you had many tasks. Is that the word you used? Other tasks, right?
Yes, sir.
And you talked a little bit about some of those today, right?
Yes, sir.
One of those tasks was for you to go out and interview people, is that right?
That's correct.
You were given a list of cell phone numbers that were associated with the towers?
Yes, sir.
And if I recall, you followed upon a lot of those cell phone leads, right?
Yes, sir.
There was dozens of them, right?
There was.
So basically, these numbers would be, I'm just kind of trying to envision, would be just a sheet of raw data with a bunch of numbers that were associated with one of the nearby towers, correct?
Yes, sir, just a list of phone numbers.
And you're just kind of making cold calls, for lack of a better phrase, right?
That's very accurate, yes, sir.
And there were lots of people that you talked to during those conversations that reported being in that particular area around that trailhead on that date and time?
It was a larger area than the trailhead. So it included people passing through on the Hoosier Heartland or State Road 25, it included several people that lived in an area around that trail, so it wasn't specific to just the trail.
Okay, but you told me there were lots of people out in that area. That's what you told me back in March.
Absolutely, there were a lot of numbers on that list.
You also did a canvass of the crime scene as part of your other tasks in this case?
Yes, sir.
Judge, it's outside the scope. I'm gonna object.
He testified earlier he was involved in other tasks.
Overruled.
And tell the jury when you went out to the crime scene.
I had been out at the crime scene numerous times throughout the investigation. I don't have an exact list of dates and times that correlate to it, but I have officer logs on our time management system that we enter every day, and there are several entries that indicate that I was at a crime scene throughout the first week of my involvement.
Throughout the first week?
I mean, at least during the first week. There were several times that we would go back out there to do different things very early on. As far as a canvas that you reference, we had officers that included our dive team members, and we walked from the bridge on 300 North down to, down the creek, looking just for evidence, things that we would possibly find. We canvassed a lot of the wooded area, looking for evidence that may have been left behind or.
When do you think the first time was that you were out there? Was it before you talked to Rick, or after?
I would say, if I remember right on my officer logs, it would have been on February 17th, so the day before I talked to Rick.
3 days after the girls were discovered?
Yes, sir.
And when you got out there, you found some items that caught your attention, right?
Yes, sir.
And those items were sticks and branches, right?
That's correct.
And those of different shapes and sizes?
Yes, sir.
Were they kind of piled up, stacked up together, or at least in a similar area?
They were within clear's throat, a 4 or 5 foot area, probably.
Okay, and you?
Coughs,
Immediately thought, hey, I need to get a hold of somebody about these sticks and branches, right?
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons why you thought that was because there was blood on them?
Yes, sir.
And so, but you knew the scene had already been processed, hadn't it?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the crime scene techs were done at that point, weren't they?
There were several times the crime scene techs had been back to the area.
Right, but it had been released.
Yes, essentially.
And just for those people that don't read police reports all the time, released means, essentially, the tape. Did people have access to the crime scene other than just CSIs, right?
There was still crime scene tape around the area, but it was a very remote, wooded area, so.
But no security?
Exactly.
Anybody. I could walk down there and walk through the tape?
Yes, sir.
And you felt free to walk in there too, right?
I don't know that I felt free to walk in there. I mean, I was there for work reasons. It wasn't like I would go back just to, on my day off and check it out.
That's probably a poor question. My point is that there was not anyone there controlling the traffic flow in and out of a crime scene, like there is in a technical sense when these things originate, right?
I would agree with you, yes.
Okay, and so you called the crime scene techs and suggested that they get out and collect these sticks, right?
I don't know if I spoke directly with the crime scene tech. I contacted somebody at the investigation center and just relayed the information that those materials were still out there.
And so they eventually came out and collected those items?
That's correct.
You spend a lot of time in the woods.
Yes, sir.
As part of your job in this job as a DNR officer?
Yes, sir.
And you spent time in the woods in this case?
Yes, sir.
And in particular, in that woods out there by the Monon High Bridge?
Yes, sir.
And it's not unusual for you to spend time in areas that are on waterways, like that creek out there, like Deer Creek?
That's correct.
Are you actually familiar with that area kind of generally, I thought you told me?
As far as, I would SI, the route of the creek. I mean, I'd not been specifically in that woods or on foot in that section of creek.
I think what you said is you've worked this general geographic.
Yes, that.
Greater geographic area is what you told me, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
This being here in the Delphi area.
Yes, sir.
And one of your responsibilities as a DNR officer is to work the waterways, too?
Yes, sir.
That's kind of your office, right?
That's correct.
And when you went out there that day, at least one of those days, you.
That's correct.
Those are things you kind of catch to, it's part of your job, right?
That's correct.
It's noticeable?
Yes.
There's some signs that people had been out there and hunting, right?
Yes, sir.
And you would agree with me that that area appears to have gotten some hunting and fishing pressure?
Judge, I'm gonna object to the form of the question.
Sustained.
Do you believe that there are people that hunt out there?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Judge, I'm gonna object.
Based on what?
It calls for speculation.
He's.
Sustained.
Judge, he's got first-hand knowledge. He said he saw a deer stand.
I've sustained the objection.
It's not uncommon to find shell casings, both spent and unspent, in a.
As it relates to hunting?
Yeah, just any kind of shells.
Yeah, so I would say that the type of cartridge or caliber would be then associated with something that would be legally hunt, like that you could legally hunt with. So a 12-gauge shotgun slug on the ground or 12-gauge shells from someone that had been hunting squirrels or ducks, you would find that kind of stuff on the ground.
It's not uncommon, is it? To find spent shell casings or other types of unspent shell casings in the woods, is it?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
You didn't tell me. That's not the way you answered this when I asked you that back in March, is it?
Judge withdraw the objection. Go ahead.
You told me in March.
If you're gonna impeach him,
It wasn't uncommon.
impeach him properly.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Did you tell me when I took your deposition that it was not uncommon to find spent and unspent shell casings?
That's correct.
And this is a .40 caliber round we're talking about here, right?
Yes, sir.
Do people out in the countryside often have handguns?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything unusual about people shooting those handguns in wooded areas?
I'm not exactly sure where people shoot them, but there's no prohibition against it.
Okay, you've seen that happen, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you agree with me that there are even hunters and fishermen that carry handguns with them when they go out hunting and fishing?
Judge, I'm gonna object to the form of the question.
Sustained.
Is it common to see hunters and fishermen who carry handguns with them when they go out to hunt and fish?
Yes, sir.
1 second, Your Honor. Sig Sauers were a standard law enforcement issue back in 2017,
Yes, sir.
and it's a pretty popular firearm to see in your line of work, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You familiar with the words Smith & Wesson?
Yes, sir.
Very popular manufacturer of firearms and ammunition?
Yes, sir.
One of the most popular that you'll see in the market, right?
I believe so, yes.
I don't have anything further.
Mr. McClelland.
Thank you, Your Honor. Captain Dulin, I want to focus on the fishing license that Richard Allen purchased. You stated you didn't remember the...
Judge, I'm going to object. He testy, because it's not consistent with the testimony. He testified that he doesn't know who purchased that license.
That's correct.
I can rephrase the question.
Rephrase it.
Thank you.
You testified you didn't know who purchased the license, correct?
That's correct.
Were you able to, in your search, find identifying information about who purchased those licenses? Were you able to find the IP address of where they were purchased from?
Yes, sir.
Were you about to find the credit card that was used to purchase those?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to find emails associated with who purchased those?
Yes, sir.
And you testified that you didn't recall what credit card was used to purchase those. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you had an opportunity to look at your report, would that refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
Did you document it in your report?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna show you a document. Does this accurately reflect what's in your report?
Yes, sir.
And by reviewing that, would it help refresh your recollection about which credit card was used to purchase those fishing license?
Yes, sir.
And so whose credit card was used to purchase the fishing license?
My report indicates Richard Allen's credit card ending in 2968 was used for both purchases.
When you say both purchases, what do you mean? Were there 2 licenses purchased?
It says, yes, one for Kathy and one for Richard Allen.
And were you able to determine the IP address for who purchased those?
Yes, sir.
And was it the same IP address?
Yes, sir.
And when someone purchases a license, do they have to use a username or login to be able to purchase those licenses?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall, if you recall, do you know what username was used in this case?
I do not recall that.
I want to take you back to the interaction with Richard Allen. He allowed you to look at his phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you gathered some identification information or ID number from that phone?
That's correct.
Did you go into the phone? Meaning, did you open the phone and look at text messages?
No, sir.
Did you look at pictures in the phone?
No, sir.
Did you go to the phone and look at any applications that he had?
No, sir.
Did he allow you to go into the phone?
I don't believe that I asked him to do that.
Okay.
I don't, so it's not something that he said, absolutely not.
The ID number, was that got, did you get that from the exterior of the...
I don't remember exactly, but I know that he and I were both looking. I was originally looking for what is referred to as an IMEI number, and he didn't immediately find that, and I had a discussion about, well, try going to your settings, and then about, how to find that, and that's where we obtained the numbers. I don't remember if it was off the back of the phone or inside the phone, but we kind of worked on that together.
But during the time the phone was being manipulated, was that something he was doing?
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Rossi.
You don't know if he was manipulating anything, do you?
No, sir.
And what you're saying is that the software program, essentially, auto-populates retroactively when you enter current information. Is that my understanding of what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So you really don't know what the information said before?
It lists in one column current information, and it actually lists it in inches, and then it has another column that shows the information that was changed and then the date that it was changed. It's all on one printout, so.
Right. But in this case, it's just 2016 and 17. So RECT? Just those 2 years? You're looking at the year prior, and then the year that the information was changed?
Essentially, yes, I believe.
Right. It doesn't compare every year all the way back to 2005?
Correct. Correct, it's only saying the change from the last time he, made a purchase. Yes, sir.
After you met with Richard in 2022, you didn't fear another thing about him, did you? In 2017, you didn't fear anything else until 2022, right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
This case drew a lot of media attention, didn't it?
It did.
Coast to coast.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure there's been times when you sat and thought about what happened out there on that bridge, right?
Yes, sir.
And not one of those times did you ever think, hey, Richard Allen, that guy I talked to at Save a Lot, might be a guy.
That's correct.
And you work on hunches, don't you? You're a police officer.
I'm gonna object, Judge, to the form of the question. It's well outside the range of direct.
Well outside.
I'll withdraw it.
Sustained.
I have nothing further.
Does anybody on the jury have any questions for Captain Dulin? Oh, there's one, I see one.
Judge, while the court's reviewing that question, would they allow me to publish that we now have a redacted state's exhibit to publish to the jury?
You may.
No objection.
That would be 231. Counsel approach.
Sidebar conference conducted.
The first time you interviewed Mr. Allen, what was his hair like?
No objection.
The packet you turned in was stated to contain a lead sheet, Word document, and BMV info. Was this a new lead sheet you could print from your car computer if the one lead sheet you wrote on was thrown away?
I'm okay with it.
And we're gonna have to break.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
We're gonna have to break after this, then.
okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
Captain, the first time you interviewed Mr. Allen, what was his hair like?
I don't recall.
Any follow-up, Mr. McClelland?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Rossi?
No, ma'am.
The packet you turned in was stated to contain the lead sheet, Word document, and BMV info. Was this a new lead sheet you could print from your car computer if the one you wrote on was thrown away?
No. The only lead sheet that, like I did not have access to the system to print new lead sheets, so what I would have done is I would have taken my Word document and the BMV information that I included in the packet, and then I would run it through their printer, their copier, so it's only copying the top sheet of the lead sheet and everything that I had. And then, after I got done with that, I would staple the information and submit it to the command center, and then I would hold on to that stuff probably, just as I was making my notes at the end of the day or the end of the week of the things that I accomplished, and, once I no longer needed that, I would scan that information into my, scan it and email it to me, so I had a copy of it, which is the stuff that I found when I was contacted by Investigator Mullen, and then I would just get rid of the hard copy after I had it scanned into my files.
Mr. McClelland?
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Rossi?
No questions.
All right. Thank you, Captain. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good time for us to take a quick break, give you an opportunity to get up and move around a little. While you're outside the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You may discuss the evidence that you've heard so far, but please, only do that if all 16 of you present in the jury room at the same time, and then please don't deliberate. Gentlemen.
All rise.
Jury out at 11:17 a.m.
All right. We'll take 15 minutes. Jody, you can go off the record.
Off record at 11:18 a.m. On record at 11:35 a.m.
We're back on the record. And are we ready to continue? M.R. McClelland, yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rossi, we ready?
Yeah.
Bring them up. And would counsel approach real quick, please?
Sidebar conference conducted.
We're gonna break at 12:15 for lunch, just so you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sidebar conference concluded.
All rise.
Jury in at 11:37 a.m.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. McClelland, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, State of Indiana would call Investigator Steve Mullen, please.
Witness sworn.
Will you state your name, please?